This is Dr. Chris's Radio Horror Show. If you're not listening to this recorded interview broadcast when it does live on the Radio of Horror, then please check it out on the Radio of Horror YouTube channel later on. Tonight on the show with us, we have writer-director Dylan Clark on the show with us to talk a little bit about his short microscopic horror movies, which are extremely well put together, have a lot of acclaim on YouTube, and are shockingly frightening for material that is like 2 to 5 minutes long.
Thank you. Hello.
Did you do the most recent one that I saw? Did you shoot that during COVID while you were like sitting at home just doing nothing, waiting for the world to reopen?
Which one was that?
The one that I commented on that we connected about the.
Oh yes.
I think I found on Reddit actually.
Oh, I was curious about where you'd seen it.
I'm pretty sure it was probably Reddit, and that's where I started backtracking through it. And then I also watched Threshold as well. So I've seen Threshold and home movies.
So yeah, home movies was just my sister and I actually.
I was gonna ask because I saw the last names. So I was like sister, wife, cousin.
It's very, very, very homegrown. But yeah, that was for just while we were here during COVID, in the thick of it.
Where did the idea for home movies come from?
We have, as many people do, I'm sure, just a large collection of home movies that were recorded by our parents throughout the years, and it's still kind of in that slightly creepy, slightly grainy VHS, footage. So I've always kind of wanted to do something with that, and I love the films I've seen that do incorporate that, like Mungo and kind of the Blair Witch vibe, but I just wanted to do something pertaining to that old grainy footage, and that was what we came up with. So all the old home movie stuff was actually home movie stuff that we had.
What was the idea behind making them just so incredibly short?
Are you familiar with David F. Sandberg and those kind of short horror films that are popular on YouTube?
No.
No. So it's have you seen the Lights Out short film?
The one that became the big movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that
because it comes with the DVD.
Well, yeah, there you go. That's kind of been actually that was the inspiration for Threshold at the time, because that was closer to when Lights Out came out, and that just kind of proved that you could do something like that effectively in such a short amount of time, and with, relatively speaking, like 1 to 2 simple ideas that are drawn out as much as you can, which isn't for long, 1 or 2 minutes or 3 to 5 minutes, but just trying to get the most out of that very simple idea with very limited resources. And so he just had a lot of success with that, and a lot of features can be built upon those very simple ideas, stretched much further, obviously. And so it's just kind of fun. It's fun to see what ideas you can pull into shorts, and then how they can maybe be expanded into future screenplays or in the future, whatever they have in store.
How long does it take to do all these? Because you look like you have a lot of them, and your YouTube, the views on them are astronomically high. Like they're insanely high. Like Behind the Frame has over 400,000 views.
It's funny because the ones that, for the most part, the ones that have a lot of views are the ones I enjoy home movies. A lot of times it's difficult to enjoy stuff you make, but I liked home movies, and that one didn't get quite as much, but that still did pretty well. And I think to explain for that, perhaps there's just a good community for short horror films on YouTube. That's something that people do seek for whatever reason. I enjoy them, but I'm glad there's a big audience for them. But to answer your original question, how long they take to make, it's like a huge crunch in a short amount of time. So probably like 2 weeks of just doing it all day. Like wake up to go to bed, just working on them all day, filming for like maybe 4 to 5 hours over 3 to 4 days, and then the editing just takes place all day through the rest of the time.
There was a short film by a filmmaker here in Massachusetts named Skip Shea called Micro Cinema. Have you ever seen it?
I have not.
He filmed it over like the course of, I think, of a weekend or a day in his backyard. Extremely fast, very short film. Wanted to prove that you could do like something, that with very limited money, and to make it just just a really impactful little short film. It's like 5 minutes long, hence the name of
Is
it.
it horror?
Yes, it's horror, and it's like heavily connected to his other films that are definitely anti religious in certain ways.
Oh, okay.
There's a character that appears through many of his films. I think her name is Missy. But a lot of his subject matter and material is very heavily anti-Catholic Church because he is a victim of the Catholic BS.
Ah,
So
see.
his subject matter has always been very heavily like to hell with the Catholic Church.
and what was it called again?
The first film is micro cinema, but he's also done feature-length films such as Trinity, which is about a reporter that has reintroduced to the priest that abused him years ago, and the downward spiral his life takes after having all those memories come back to him, and Ave Maria, which is also a really short film, which was very popular in Rome and Europe just because of the music.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I think that kind of speaks to I think short horror films are almost like the short film of short films, because you can get away with a short horror film that maybe has a very short scene and then a scare, and that can be it, and it can be effective. Whereas short films have to have a little bit more, maybe a little more character, and so I think they're like the perfect example of getting as much out of something small, and just being economical as a filmmaker, and that's what I think is really great about them. And it sounds like micro cinema is an example of that.
Is your sister in all your short films? Because I've noticed her in many of them.
No, not all of them, but many of them, yes, because
she's just an easy get. You're just like, hey sis, they're gonna kill you in this one. All right, fine, whatever.
Yeah, the running joke is like, there's been so many ways that I've killed her on screen at this point, even if she's not the central character of the film.
So lay down on the couch and we're going to talk a little bit about your sister. Okay, so
it's therapy, right?
Yeah, you keep trying to kill your sister, and let's discuss your childhood together.
Well, the funny thing is that in this newest one, I'm editing one right now.
She would always take my toys.
well, here the twist is that she is literally playing she's playing the villain in the new one.
Oh, okay. So she's not playing the same character in every single one, and she just happened to recover and be fine the next one.
Yes. So she's finally getting to survive and perhaps even do the killing. So it's very exciting for her, and it's a twist in this, me killing her.
What do you think it is that blew up your channel? Because you have only, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 films on there, and the rest are just like the trailers and then behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Because you have like 16,000 subscribers, but man, some of your videos have like we mentioned, like one of them has 122 home movies, 122,000 views.
Yeah, there was one film a while back, which was called The Pretty Thing, which got a lot of views, I think, just for the thumbnail. I mean, it's not that old, but I'm young, so it feels very old to me, and it's really not very good. But I think that kind of kickstarted things, because I think it's a attention-grabbing thumbnail, and so people started flocking to that for whatever reason. Just the algorithm worked out, and then that kind of traction has helped more recent short films maintain a little bit of that traction, not to the same degree, but I think thumbnails are a huge thing for short films and short horror films. Trying not to be too spoilery, yada yada, but I think as far as garnering views, they're huge. Yeah, that's what I would say about that.
Yeah, I believe that. There's a couple thumbnails in my videos I want to change to, like, especially if I'm reviewing a product or something, or it's a guest that's on the show, it's better to have like a really good caption image of them. And like one video I have up right now in my interview with Courtney Gaines, I don't as much as I like the more modern view of him with his guitars behind him, I don't think anyone recognizes him nearly as much as recognizing him from the Burbs or Children of the Corn or something, or at least a photo comparison between the two.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. I think it becomes a little complicated when you don't want a thumbnail that's misleading. I mean,
Right, and especially if it's like a hot chick that is like a
Exactly.
model or an actress, you really got to
Exactly.
put up the picture of her in like the half-naked look that she's kind of well known for. Because otherwise,
Yeah.
you put up just a face shot, you might get some views. But if like I have Danielle Harris on the show, I'm probably gonna pull a lot more of her more adult photos that she seems to be posting. And by adult, I don't mean nude, but if you are on her Instagram, she posts a lot of like not her 10-year-old self Halloween stuff. You know what I mean? And of course, she's been in Rob Zombie's movies, so she's been naked, but she's been really like in the last several years, you know, kind of blown up her social media with like really killer, sexy horror images, you know?
I've not seen her social media.
Yeah, her stuff is like covered in blood, or she's like, you know, she's being really posy and stuff. You know what I mean? And she does, again, I mean, yeah, she doesn't look like she's 10 years old anymore, but she doesn't look like she's aged at all past when she hit puberty. So, you know what I mean? We're talking about like Danielle Harris still looks the same from like urban legend.
I was gonna say, yeah, to your point about like, you know, the more adult things. I've seen some short films go that route where they try to post a picture of their actor or actress that's slightly more provocative.
Right, and I have like that with 3 of my shorts have a beautiful freaking actress in every single one of them. And not one of them is she the center of like sex appeal attention, except for one of them wears a skirt that is insanely microscopically short, and it doesn't really add to the value of the thumbnail if I just post a picture of her ass compared to like, oh, she's not even the star doesn't even wear anything super sexy, she just looks pretty. So I'm not gonna post that. Or like Sarah Michelle, not to be confused with Sarah Michelle Gellar. Sarah Michelle is like insanely freaking beautiful, and we ugly the hell out of her in our movie when we turn her into a mummy. And so that's the thumbnail. But I've always thought about changing the thumbnail because I just don't think it's drawing as much attention as it probably could. These are just little shorts that we did, and I'm working on one right now. I filmed during COVID myself. It's called Late Night Radio Show, the Late Night Radio Show, and it's about a radio disc jockey who has to go and do the overnight shift, and he doesn't want to. So it's like Clerks meets a radio station.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and in it he has to deal with all these callers calling in the most obnoxious ways. Like, oh, can you find this song to play? But it's like a song nobody's ever heard of, and he can't even find it on iTunes. Somebody's calling in about an alien conspiracy, whatever, but he thinks it's. But we start getting a sense that maybe it's more about aliens from overseas. We also have. Oh, by the way, one of my co-hosts is a mistress, and for a podcast I do. Very heavy into adult sex education, right? And we filmed something with her, and the framing in a lot of her footage is not great. She is the only one who actually did 3 takes of every single line she did, like 3 different camera angles, and the only ones I can really use, her tits are in the shot the entire time, and it's her head cut out on purpose just to have a voice over her breasts in this corset sticking out. You know, they're covered, but it's like, she's so beautiful. I can't use any of her headshots because her top of her head is cut off. So I'm like, well, it's just going to be all her tits every time I'm talking to her.
Well, whatever you got to do to make it work.
I got to do what I got to do to make it work.
But that's the funny thing. It's like you can go the attractive route, or on the flip side, especially if it's horror, you can go the, you know, spoiler horrific monster route, where it's like a lot of short horror films that feature creatures, they'll post in their thumbnail whatever the creature is, which feels like a spoiler because it shows for like maybe 3 frames, and I'm trying not to do that because that's a really good way to get views, but it feels like it betrays, you know, some of the suspense and the surprise of the actual film. So I mean, it's like any marketing, I guess, you know, just trying to make sure you have that balance.
Seagrass was the other one I actually did watch as well. Who is the creepy ghost that kills not your sister this time?
Yes. Well, it's a cousin, so it's not much different. But
Cheap acting is done with the family.
yes, I mean, as long as I don't give them lines, I don't feel too bad about it.
Yeah, then you don't have to worry about paying them.
Yeah, well, that, but also I'm not too scared about their, I think the second you introduce dialogue to family members who are acting, it really shows that they're family members, perhaps.
Right.
So some of the stuff I feel like I've been able to get away with because it's very limited what they're actually doing on screen, like Seagrass.
Yeah, Seagrass was cool. Again, very, very short too. And then of course this ghost just shows up and then kills this woman, and and just like buries her in the sand. And I'm just like, oh, it's like Creepshow.
Yeah, well, I mean that's true. I hadn't thought about that before, but that is a good comparison.
If in the future you ever need help with the audio cleanup or anything for these, I work a lot in audio editing, so feel free to definitely reach out. Yeah, and I'm trying to grow my IMDb actually, so that would be very helpful as well.
It's funny you say that because the film I'm working on right now, I'm like almost done with the visual side of it, and I'm about to move into audio, and I'm a little nervous about it, so I might take you up on that.
Yeah, you can definitely reach out through email or Instagram and just be like, yes, I have this audio thing and it has this problem. Can you do a thing, or can you create a thing? Because I've there's like 2 movies just before COVID crashed down on top of us or whatever that I did like special effects, audio, sound effects for or whatever. Oh, cool. I'm still waiting for those movies to appear on some capacity, but. And what was funny is that was the other thing I did just before COVID. We were supposed to do a Hammer horror parody trailer. So a trailer for a fake movie that was never going to be made because I don't have the time to try and do that. But it was supposed to be like a parody of like Hammer trailers. You know what I mean? Very like verbose music, voiceover. We're going to have a Dracula. And it was going to be called The Slap of Dracula. Because there's this movie we were watching for my podcast, Boobs, Blood, and Badasses, the Hammer Horror Podcast, where Dracula is just slapping women around left and right, not biting them, not strangling them, not doing vampire things. They just mouth off to Christopher Lee, and he just gives them a good slap in the face. I killed Nazis, woman. I ain't taking no crap from you. And he just slaps these women straight in the face, and I'm like, that would make a hilarious parody. We just have Chris just slapping people around, or Chris like actor just slapping people across the face, and they just go flying in the air or something. Oh my god!
Have you seen that video of Christopher Lee talking to Peter Jackson about what it sounds like for a man to be stabbed in the back?
Yes.
So funny.
Yes, because he's actually done it before to Nazis. He was a Nazi hunter.
Ominous.
I'm like, why has nobody made the Christopher Lee true life story Nazi hunting movie, Hollywood? Hello? It's right there.
I suspect we may get that someday.
Oh my god, we should. And in fact, Peter Jackson should probably make it too.
Oh, that'd be
because he's the one who told the story too. And it's just like, just find.
That'd be great.
How about you cast either okay, what actor is as tall as Christopher Lee? Okay, so either cast Conan O'Brien or Vince Vaughn and just make them look like Christopher Lee, because they're the only freaking human beings on planet Earth working today that are as tall as Christopher Lee are.
Conan O'Brien as Christopher Lee in a biopic about him killing Nazis. I think that's a great pitch.
I think that could happen. I think Conan is old enough now, you know what I mean, that he could look like Christopher Lee, because Lee's always had a very distinguishedly old look to him. There's this, and because you're a filmmaker, you might find this fascinating. Just before Dick Donner passed away, the late, great Richard Donner, director of The Omen, Goonies, and of course, Superman, the movie, he was going to start working, before COVID came crashing down, on a documentary television show about the making of Superman, the movie.
I didn't know his health was good enough for him to be working like that.
Yeah, well, he was going to be probably executive producing it,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it was like also going to be I forgot who was going to be involved. Kevin Smith was going to be involved in it as well.
Oh, of course.
Because he took a meeting with Dick Donner, and that was like the time he said that's like, because he was talking about it on his podcast, saying that was the only time I ever met Dick Donner. We worked in the same circles, and I worked on studios I knew he was on. He was at when I was filming one thing, and he was filming, like Assassins or whatever. But I never met him until like I did this meeting. So it was like, this was like, he was like 80, 89, 88 years old. So this is a year. This was like 2019. He said he had this meeting with Richard Donner, and now this project is being resurrected by his wife,
Oh, really?
Lauren Schuler Donner, who is, she's a bigwig Hollywood producer. They groomed what we now have as the Marvel Cinematic Universe because Kevin Feige was Richard Donner's assistant.
I did hear about that, actually. I learned about that for the first time recently.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, yeah, thank you, Richard Donner.
Yeah.
Because you gave us Superman, you also gave us the man who's given us all this other great stuff. Good or bad, love or hate it, we wouldn't have the Marvel Cinematic Universe today if it wasn't for Richard Donner.
It all leads back.
Yeah, and that's more than just him, tutoring and making his apprentice, Kevin Feige. That goes back to Superman. So it's, you know what I mean? And I know I'm a big horror fan or whatever, but I'm not a big fan of The Omen.
I have not seen the original Omen.
I'm not a big fan of it. I've seen it. I'm just like, I'm okay, great. Goonies. Oh, Lady Hawk, better films.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that he directed The Omen. I honestly sometimes forget that it was Richard Donner.
And he also directed at least 5 episodes of The Twilight Zone, including one of the most famous ones ever, Terror at 20,000 Feet.
What? That was him?
That was him. The famous one with William Shatner.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. The more you know.
Yeah, definitely. I was like, so Richard Donner has more horror connections than people realize. I mean,
that's really interesting.
Lady Hawk is kind of a werewolf movie, kind of a were-hawk film. Because if you know the secret of the movie, Rutger Hauer is like a werewolf.
Huh. I feel like that happens a lot where there's these big directors and you don't realize how much either they got a start in horror and then, went on. I mean, I just saw The Suicide Squad recently, and I think so many people don't know about Slither.
The Suicide Squad and Slither. The Suicide Squad. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes. James Gunn. And he returned to horror a little bit recently with the Superman horror movie.
Oh, right. Brightburn, yeah.
Yes, which I would love to see another film come out of that universe because they've already confirmed it's in the Wrench or the Super universe. Brightburn, Super, and there's another film that's kind of loosely connected to it. What?
I didn't know that Super and Brightburn were connected.
Yes, Super and Brightburn are in the same universe.
Interesting.
Gunn confirmed that. Yep.
I would like to see more, though, because the stuff they teased right at the end of that movie, I was like, that sounds maybe more interesting than this film.
But I gotta believe making Super is so easy compared to having to run back to the Disney studio, with their heads in their hands, on their knees, apologizing, to make 2 back-to-back Guardian things, because he's doing a Guardians Christmas special and the Guardians movie.
Right. Plus,
he was involved in Thor: Love and Thunder because his Guardian characters are in that. He didn't just, he's not just waiting for the Guardians thing. He was involved in Thor and Love and Thunder, and that's another reason why Thor and Love and Thunder was delayed, because they wanted to use his Guardians characters, which aren't his, but he created them. But the director, Taika Waititi, has as much respect for James Gunn, hence, by the way, he's, of course, Ratcatcher, that the Russo brothers did, because they confirmed that all of the Guardian stuff was written by Gunn.
Yes, I think it really showed, like in Infinity War.
Oh, yeah. It's like a completely tonal shift of a film when the Guardians show up every time, fighting Thanos, meeting up with Tony, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange. That is all Gunn. I'm 50% human, and you're like, that makes me like 100% smarter than whatever that, oh my God, that cracks me up.
So good. But yeah, just about James Gunn and so many, I mean, that was the other thing. So David F. Sandberg, who I brought up earlier with Lights Out, he did Shazam. Just so many horror directors who get a start in horror or who love horror that move on to do so many things that they ultimately get remembered for, which is sometimes a little sad. Like Richard Donner, I didn't even realize that he directed, that episode of Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I didn't either until, again, it was Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Men Beyond. Enough about super famous people. Let's get back to the independent people. What's the next thing that you're working on coming up before we let you go?
I mentioned it briefly, but I'm working on something now that's at the point where visuals are done. Kind of got to go in and figure out, sending it out to somebody who's going to do the soundtrack. It's another short. It's a little longer than the other ones, but still very short. It's like 7 minutes. I would say it draws more in the fantastical route, kind of inspired by Del Toro type works.
Oh, neat. Now, do you write everything yourself?
This one I wrote with a friend of mine who's, I at film school right now, and he is he's someone who I've worked with before, but most of my other stuff I've written on my own.
I've got like 2 cute little short scripts or whatever that I'm not. One of which I definitely would love to find a female director for, because I think the material would lend itself to having a woman take it over. And boy, oh boy, one thing I can't stand or whatever is you go looking for a female director and you post this is why the reason why or whatever, and some of the comments from people are disgusting. Like, oh, what are you trying to get? Like a girlfriend or something or whatever? And I'm just like, no. I'm like, why do you even need to go there, idiot troll? Sad. Aren't you in the same group I am in to find work and art and projects to collaborate on?
No, it's really respectable that you think that that a female director would be best for that whatever you've written.
Right. It's a combination of like the movie Audition meets. Okay, well, let's just call it a big homage to movie Audition.
I have not seen Audition. I've heard very much about it.
I don't want to give too much of it away, but it's supposed to be silent, it's supposed to be black and white, my film, and it's supposed to be like about the horrors of modeling.
Oh, interesting. I enjoy that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's gonna be very quick. You know what I mean? Like we get to the point. Like some people have been like, why can't the bad guy be a guy? And I'm like, why? Oh, I don't want to work on it anymore. I was like, what? Wait, what? That was literally a conversation I had with the director who was very gung ho about this. And then I said, no, I wanted to remain like all women in this for reasons of just the villain can kind of be anybody. You know what I mean? We don't actually see the villain. We always see is like her legs from a point of view to like give the villain some sexiness. And she was really like upset by that. She's like, no, it should be a guy doing this because only men would do this. And I'm like, you have no idea. Anyway, so she just like immediately, she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Why? I'm not interested. No, thank you. I'm like, what? That was literally exactly what was said to me. And I'm like, is there a part of this conversation that we got left out of the transcript? Because you've turned into something else altogether talking to me.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it was really weird. And then again in the comments, I'm like, why do you want a girl to direct this? Why does it need to be a woman to direct this? Oh, hey, girls, somebody's looking for a date. What?
I mean, you can completely discount those people.
Yeah, I'm like, again, it's like we're in the same group to find projects to collaborate and work on, but that's your response? How about you just don't say anything at all and I'll just block you because you're clearly a jackass.
That sounds like the way to go.
Yeah. But I really do feel, just because of the material, that a woman should direct it, you know? And I've had like various interests here and there, but just
written something and had someone else direct it in the past? You know.
The vampire, the one I did that launched my graphic novel, Vlada, A Dracula Tale, that is a short that I wrote, someone directed.
Gotcha.
And then the 48-hour film project short I did, the one where we turned the pretty girl into a mummy, really uglified her up, that was also something I wrote, storyboarded, and someone directed.
Gotcha.
And that was a huge amount of team of like people involved. That was like the greatest production I've ever been on. Everyone was like doing exactly what they were supposed to be doing. Everything fired in every cylinder to get that short film done on time, and we got it done with hours to spare. It was an amazing 48-hour film project.
And do you feel like in those projects that you've done that, you know, had someone else direct it, did you feel like the tone was upheld? Like, were you satisfied? I mean, if you're comfortable saying, I don't know if you know the people who directed it super well.
I think they've done a great job of it. I really do. I haven't had too many complaints. The Vlado one I did, I feel like I really kind of like redirected it after we shot it the first time, but that's not anything here or there. There was another short I did with that same director. Okay, so this is, there was a problem. I was like, where was the problem with Vlada? Oh, it wasn't with Vlada. It was the project I gotta now edit myself out. Because no swearing. What was that? 30, 20, okay. So we went on to make another film together with actually the mummy girl now in a very sexy scene where she and a girlfriend are just having a sleepover and they're in their panties and their tank tops and being like, you know what I mean? Making, you know, jokes like, you know, college girls would make. Ooh, the guy's cute, you know what I mean? Whatever, you know, a lot of innuendo. They're watching a horror movie. They're in their underwear. They're both beautiful looking women. That's how I wrote it, and by damn it, that's how it's going to be filmed. And somebody tries to break in. Some hijinks ensue. Long story short, I found out the director was having this terrible day, didn't want to do it. Later on, he lost all the footage. I should have had him copy and send me the footage as soon as he had done filming it. Didn't do that. It's been forever lost.
That's horrible.
It made me so angry. The other thing is, once something's on IMDb, you can't take it down. So for years, I've had like 2 or 3 of the actors being like, when is this thing ever? I'm like, oh, yeah. So you can't take it off IMDb. And I'm just like, why? And they're like, it's on there. So if you actually filmed it, then you got nothing to say, you know. But if you lied and you said you were in Spider-Man, you're not actually in Spider-Man. You can delete people from projects, though. You just can't delete the project once it's up.
I've had a problem with that in the past because anyone can put your stuff up there especially if you're like in a film festival.
Right. Yeah.
So I've had stuff that like retroactively I wanted to delete because it's old and I don't want it up there.
Right.
And I can't. I literally can't.
Yeah. I mean, I was on a TV show recently and I was not loving it. I'm not going to get into the reasons why. I finally got off of it, but I'm still on there for 2 episodes. And I'm like, well, we did film those 2 episodes. We filmed a lot more. By the way, we filmed those 2 episodes 6 times.
Oh God.
We filmed it over and over. Oh, I can't get into it. I can't. It's gonna.
It's like a can of worms.
It was a can of worms. I was working with people I didn't want to work with. It just aggravated me to no end. I wish him the best with it. But it's on my IMDb, apparently, I was told, forever. And they've never redone it. Also, like, one of the producers really felt like I put myself as the star of it because my name's at the top of the IMDb credits for it. And I'm like, do you know how IMDb works? Whoever has the most credits on IMDb, they're put at the top of the IMDb.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, it's a matter of your star meter, how many credits you have on IMDb, or if you punched it in based on who appears first on screen.
Oh, okay.
I did not appear. I put myself in first on the thing. That was just like, well, I'm the one making up the IMDb. I'll put myself in, as the actors. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to do with the other actors and their star power. It's just you're gonna think of yourself when you're punching up an IMDb, right? You're gonna put yourself into the director, the writer first before the co-writer. Things like that. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, I'm not part of the project anymore, but it's on my IMDb forever. So, yeah. But I would love to have somebody take like one of my shorts or whatever and just do something with it, as long as the tone was kept the same. They want to add dialogue and things, that's fine, but don't change the overall, project of it. And I've had a couple of directors who wanted just completely rewrite it, and I was just like, listen, I understand the writing might be a little bad, but I want the tone to remain the same. I'm like, oh, we want to add this other scene. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, you want to add that scene? Yeah, that's totally fine. Let's do that. Let's beef it up and make it better. But
the feeling and the tone
and the way it needs to be shot has to be the same. Yeah. So, again, this thing, like the model thing I talked about, it has to be in black and white, and it has to be kind of like a silent film almost.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I asked because I've never gone through that process of writing something and having someone else make it. And so that's something that I guess I have a little bit of, I would be nervous to do it for the first time. So that's why I was curious.
Oh yeah, totally. Why don't you give away your social media for your YouTube channel where people can find you?
Yeah, so I'm actually not really a social media guy generally.
Except for that Instagram?
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. But you could just find me at my YouTube channel, which is just my name, which is Dylan Clark, and it should pop up. So
cool.
That's what I'll give out.
I will shoot you over a couple of little shorts that I did. Nothing spectacular, but I love them. And now I'm trying to find an editor for the patchwork film because the late night radio show I told you about, I filmed all my scenes here. And then I had people film however they wanted to film and send me the footage. Now it has to be like Frankenstein together. So I got to find an editor to do that. It's unscripted too. Everyone's scripts were pretty much their own improv. So
that sounds fun though.
Yeah, it's just a matter of finding the editor who could just be like, oh yeah, I see what you're saying compared to what they're saying. I'll know when to mix all that together. So on and so forth. There's no script to go off of because we did it very improvisational. I just gave them a direction of what I wanted them to do. I want you to be a jerk who's calling about a song. I want you to be a jilted lover. I want you to be an alien conspiracy. I want you to be, oh, you speak Russian? Great. Speak all the Russian you want. I just won't understand what you're saying. And make it legitimate, like a conversation you're trying to have. Don't make it nonsense, because somebody will see it, hear it, and be like, what is she saying? I speak Russian. I don't get this. So this actress actually spoke Russian. So she's Russian American, I guess. Or she's from Russia. So I was just like, speak all the Russian you want. Speak all the Russian.
That's production value right there.
Right? And there was like an actress I found out was like a karate expert in a film I was trying to do, and I wanted to do like she was gonna be part of the Dracula thing I was gonna do, and I wanted her to like do flips and backward kicks or whatever to Dracula. Dracula like back up or whatever. And she's like, Power Rangering it up or whatever, and then Dracula just come over to her and just slap her to the ground and walk over her body. And she's like, "That's it." I'm like, "That's the whole point. You're supposed to be all like, wah!" And then Dracula just slaps you down and then walks right over you, and it's supposed to be as offensive as I could possibly make. But tongue in cheek and all in good fun, and the actress would totally agree to it, and she was like, that's totally fine. I love it. I think it's hilarious. So, but I want people in the audience to be like,
yeah. Have you seen the video of Christopher, or no, sorry, not Christopher Lee, Gary Oldman in that Dracula film, talking to, oh my God, blanking, who directed the
Francis Ford Coppola.
Yes, Francis Ford Coppola.
I just watched it the other night.
Oh, did you?
On 4K.
There's a behind-the-scenes video of Coppola talking to Gary Oldman. And Gary Oldman gets like upset. Well, they both get upset at each other, and then he like charges off stage, holding up his gown. It's just Dracula slapping someone just fits so well.
Oh.
It reminds me of that. Just him storming off the set in his little robe. It's just so funny.
Thank you so much for coming on the show with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great talking to you.